Right now, busy I-95 back open in both directions between Lantana Road and 6th Avenue South after being shut down for hours, forcing drivers onto back roads.
And this is what shut it down. A shooting suspect who drove the wrong way on the highway. This exclusive video showing the end of a deadly day across Palm Beach County.
It began, though, in Boca Raton with a homicide. That investigation forced authorities to shut down the interstate around 5 a.m. And several hours later, they were forced to close northbound 95 between Lantana and 6th in Lake Worth after a deputy-involved shooting.
We've been covering this story wall-to-wall, on air and online since this morning.
News Channel 5 anchor Jay Cashmere is live now along 95, where traffic is finally moving, Jay.
Yeah, Michael and Kelly, the sun is setting on an extremely long, tiresome, anxious day filled with tension and tragedy. A day that began not far from here in Lake Worth, where a man opened fire on a woman, then put her in the car, brought her here to 95, drove south in the northbound lanes, causing 3 head-on collisions. Ultimately, that man was fatally shot by a PBSO deputy after that deputy feared for his life. Right before that deputy was shot, Yolanda Oliver was right at the scene, rolling up 95, headed to work in Palm Beach. She witnessed the entire situation unfold. This is her story, exclusive story in her own words. Yolanda Oliver was driving north on I-95 on her way to work in Palm Beach Wednesday morning when all hell broke loose.
Multiple cars involved, scattered all over 95. Heard, again, like 4 or 5 shots, and I was like, all right, this is getting serious.
She took out her phone and started to record. Within seconds, she saw several officers leap out of a car with guns drawn.
4 undercover cops come out with, like, what seemed to me automatic guns, and everyone starts running towards where the black car was.
Everybody back up! Hey, back up!
Don't move, shoot you right now. And they just kind of like wait for any kind of movement, and it was a little intimidating.
But Yolanda kept recording and saw some movement from the black car the officers surrounded.
The driver's head was now kind of like peeping through the driver's side.
Officers then noticed the impacted drivers like Yolanda had their phones out, recording the armed officers yelling at the driver.
As the cops started noticing that the other drivers that were affected were recording them, they start yelling, move back, move back, move back.
When Yolanda was finally able to get moving again, she had this thought.
It makes you thank God that you weren't involved, and you just can only hope that people kind of stay calm and don't ever run into a situation like that.
And Yolanda, just one of many people that witnessed today's events unfold, the tragedy of what unfolded here today on the side of I-95 here, as she had to pull off just to sort of regroup after that incident happened. Today was an unfortunate day, and there are a lot of questions as we end this day, and this investigation still has a long way to go. Who was the shooter? Where was he from? For more on the shooter and the weapon used, let's go to News Channel 5's Mayor Spadcott.
Jay, it was a team effort here in the newsroom. Together with Michael Williams, we were able to confirm through different sources that the suspect in the I-95 incident isn't tied to just one shooting, but 3 other shootings in less than 24 hours. In Palm Beach County, sheriff deputies have tied the suspect to this gun, a Glock 45. First, in West Palm Beach, this shooting scene. A man is shot outside the Dutchman Motor Lodge off South Dixie Highway. Police say the man was rushed to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, but police say the victim and the shooter knew each other. Then, a second shooting after midnight in Boynton Beach. A 21-year-old man also rushed to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. And then a deadly shooting in Lake Worth outside this convenience store. Sheriff Rick Bradshaw says a suspect shot a woman, put her in his car, and tried to get away in a black Nissan Rogue. That car first tied the suspect to the West Palm Beach incident.
The description was a Nissan Rogue, which this is, a black one, with the suspect description the same. So at this scene, we have 3 vehicle accidents. The people that are the drivers of those vehicles are injured, none life-threatening at this point in time, thank God. The suspect is deceased, and the victim that he shot in Lake Worth is deceased.
The suspect was driving the wrong way on I-95 when he finally crashed the car. A deputy shot the suspect and killed him, and the woman shot in Lake Worth is also dead. Now, we're still waiting on officials to publicly identify the suspect and the victims involved in these 3 incidents, and police and deputies are working together to figure out a motive for this morning's mayhem. Live in the newsroom tonight, I'm Maris Badcock, WPTV News Channel 5.
Maris, thank you very much. And as Maris alluded to, the complexity of this situation, not just with the suspect, but the crime scenes that unfolded from the one in Lake Worth to the one here on I-95 right now. So much so that PBSO is joining forces with the state attorney's office and the Police Benevolent Association. All 3 agencies are really working the case right now with PBSO in the lead. Nonetheless, it was an chaotic morning. We cannot emphasize that enough, with 3 multiple crashes, head-on collisions right behind me on I-95. For more on that, we want to bring in Michelle Casada and the ongoing investigation to the point of origin when all this really unfolded. Michelle.
And Jay, we learned a little bit more information this afternoon about those crashes and how this all unfolded. We learned that after the suspect fled the Lake Worth scene where that shooting did occur, and that woman we found later on that is dead, he came out here to Southern Boulevard and got onto 95 northbound on Southern Boulevard in a southerly direction at a high rate of speed. So he was driving southbound on the northbound lanes of I-95 for quite some time at a high rate of speed. You have people, it was just before 10 a.m. this morning, people driving to work, just dropping off their kids at school, probably traveling 65, 70 miles per hour, and coming across this vehicle coming on them, driving in their direction. So this was something that was making cars go off the road. Drivers, obviously, we heard from witnesses about how all this happened, how they felt about all this. And the sheriff mentioned earlier today that all these crashes happened. FHP trooper and a deputy came on scene as the last crash happened. That last crash was the one that disabled the suspect's car. The car caught fire, and they were able to go ahead and try to make contact with the suspect. That's when the FHP trooper tried to tase the suspect, and the deputy was in fear for his life and shot him. The sheriff explaining all that for us today.
This scene, we have 3 vehicle accidents. The people that are the drivers of those vehicles are injured, none life-threatening at this point in time, thank God. The suspect is deceased, and the victim that he shot in Lake Worth is deceased. We are handling, the sheriff's office is handling the original homicide. We are handling all the traffic accidents here. We are handling the crime scene, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement is handling the actually shooting that involved the deputy and the deployment of the taser by the FHP.
And as we learned, those people involved in the crashes have suffered minor injuries from this. So, Jay, it definitely could have been a lot worse, hearing that this suspect drove on at a high rate of speed in a southerly direction on northbound lanes, and only minor injuries from these 3 crashes.
Absolutely, and the response time from PBSO is certainly a tremendous asset here. Michelle, thank you very much. Important to note, the PBSO deputy who fatally shot the suspect in this case is on paid administrative leave. Standard operating procedure, standard protocol in any sort of situation like this. Long before deputies got to this scene here, they were swarming a small grocery store in Lake Worth, not far from where we are standing right now. We want to join Jason Hackett. He continues our coverage with the point of origin where this all erupted earlier this morning. Jason.
Yeah, Jay, this is where it all began. My neighborhood grocery, 1600 South Dixie Highway. I spoke to the clerk inside earlier today. She says that the 2 walked into her store and she didn't notice anything unusual. There was no indication that there was any issues between them. They came into the store twice. The first time they came in, they bought cigarettes, they bought other items. The second time they came in, a half hour later, they went to the ATM to withdraw money. Now, when they walked outside, witnesses outside the store say the 2 got into some sort of altercation. They say that the male suspect got really, really angry for some reason, and they say that at that point he pulled a gun out and shot the woman point blank in the face. They say he then picked her body up, put her into the car, and then took off in the direction of I-95. I spoke to witnesses here in the area, including Ed Stein. He's a business owner of a pawn shop that's in the same plaza here. He says that he just wants to know why.
Unfortunately, it's a sign of the times. People just have no respect for other people, nor for the law. It's criminal.
Now, we still don't know the name of the male suspect or the female that he shot. We also don't know the nature of their relationship. PBSO has still not released those details yet. Now, one more note, we learned that this grocery store here has a history of police activity. A records request we put in today revealed that this location has had 117 calls for service since August. Jay, back to you.
All right, Jason Hackett for us over in Lake Worth, the point of origin where all the chaos began and thus ended right here on I-95. I-95 was shut down for about 7 hours today. PBSO was able to wrap up their investigation literally on the highway at about 4:30, just before the evening commute began, reopening the roadway there. Nonetheless, though, hundreds of thousands of motorists coming northbound on I-95 are forced to regroup or forced to redirect their routes heading north. We want to toss it over to News Channel 5 Stephanie Susskind with more on the traffic woes today and what the scene looks like right now. Stephanie.
You know, Jay, it's pretty amazing to see that open interstate traffic flowing behind you after what we dealt with earlier today, and actually 2 different shutdowns on I-95 northbound, one in Boynton Beach, and then, of course, this one we've been talking about all day long, Lantana to 6th Avenue South. But it is clear now, so that is certainly some good news, and actually green on our road map, so cars traveling up to speed, which is really great. Now, when we compare I-95 to the Turnpike actually has a little bit more traffic right now. A lot of drivers probably opting to take the Turnpike because they were worried about this closure going on all throughout the afternoon. So you can see some of that red and orange as you travel through Boynton Beach heading northbound on the Turnpike. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but 95 might actually be your better option right now if you're deciding which way to go. As we look at these drive times right here, you can see about 70 miles per hour as you head northbound on I-95. That stretch from Boynton Beach Boulevard to Okeechobee Boulevard on the Turnpike, you're looking at about 18 minutes, 44 miles per hour.
Stephanie Susskind in the newsroom with more on the traffic situation. And Stephanie, I cannot echo the fact that it certainly is good news to see 95 back open and to know that it is being utilized by all our motorists here, and the green lights certainly running smoothly through the county, something we have not seen for the last 9 hours. If you can believe it, today, this was not the first time I-95 was shut down earlier today. This morning around 9 a.m., deputies were called to a homicide in Boca Raton that forced the closure of a section of I-95. For that, we'll toss it over to News Channel 5's Alyssa Hyman with more on this scene. Alyssa.
Jay, traffic is finally back to normal along I-95 here in Boca as well. But for much of the morning commute, all lanes of I-95 southbound between Linton and Yamato were shut down completely as police searched for answers. This is a view of the scene above I-95 in Boca from early this morning. Traffic backed up for miles for much of the morning commute. According to police, around 4 this morning, an FHP trooper who was working a construction detail in this area heard a crash. A car that swerved off the road, hitting one of the barricades. That's when he discovered the gunshot victim inside the car. Since then, police have identified that young man as 29-year-old Edvin Milkovic, who lived in Boca with his family. And at this point, police are still trying to piece together whether this man was targeted for some reason or whether this could have been a violent road rage incident. But for those who knew him, tell me they refuse to believe he could have been involved in any sort of trouble.
He was the kind of guy that would just do anything for you. I can't imagine this is anything but a random shooting.
That neighbor actually told me that Edvin was known as Damien in the neighborhood. She also told me that he was a hard worker and worked as a restaurant server. Reporting live tonight in Boca Raton, Alyssa Hyman, WPTV News Channel 5.
All right, Alyssa, thank you very much. This was certainly a day filled with tragedy, filled with complete tension. So many people were involved in the situation, so many witnesses, witness accounts, a lot of details, a lot of information. The investigation just beginning, a lot more questions than answers tonight, and why one man would cause and unleash so much mayhem today. That'll do it for us right here on the side of I-95. Much more coverage on WPTV.com. For now, we'll send it back to the studio.
And I'm Chris Stewart here live in the newsroom. Just received a statement from the Palm Beach County School District. We want to keep you posted on about a tweet that the district had posted earlier, just in about the past hour, that raised some eyebrows. And take a look at it here on your screen. It has since been deleted. If we have that tweet, it told people that school buses there are on schedule now that 95 was open. But then there was a GIF that had Elmo driving a school bus and crashing through traffic. And that was a GIF that some people had commented on Twitter saying was a bit insensitive. And so we did reach out to the school district, and I believe we do have their statement. Okay, so there's the GIF. You see it right here on your screen that I was talking about. The school district put it up. It has since been taken down, but we did reach out to the school district, who says an employee posted it, that this tweet you look at right here, it was a mistake. And here's the official statement from the school district saying, quote, "We deleted the tweet. We apologize to anyone who thought we were trying to make light of a serious situation." That tweet was up for about 45 minutes. It has since, again, been taken down. Kelly?
All right, Chris, thank you. We'll be right back with more coverage.